to this episode of The Break Room. I call it The Break Room because, and I spell it Brake. Brake. I spelled that way.
Brake.
Yeah,
Okay.
like pump your brakes. And the reason why I call it The Break Room is because I feel like in life, we all are speeding through life and we need to take time to pump the brakes, relax, reassess where we're going and where we've been so we know where we're going forward. Um,
Gotcha.
this episode, I got someone that is definitely a good brother. But we had conversations off air for a while now. We 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 basically neighbors for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah, word.
Came up together, same neighborhood in Valley. Um, he's from the Gessner side of things. I'm from the Union Garden side of things, but we next door neighbors down the road. My,
Facts.
my man Jamal Smith. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I can't complain, man. I can't complain. We also ball bros, so it's
Yeah,
all good.
listen, it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, I'll take it. You know,
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm alive, so I'll take it.
right? Exactly. That's how I look at it. As long as I'm blessed, black, and highly favored and alive. So
I like
what are you
that.
gonna do?
Blessed, black, and highly
Black and
favored.
highly favored. Yep.
That might even be the episode for this because I respect that and I agree with that. As a matter of fact, today is July 4th, actually, July
Yeah.
4th, 2025.
Yep.
As a man who's blessed, black, and highly favored, how do you embrace, if you can, or how do you grapple with, if you do, the idea of the 4th of July as an American man, as a black American man? How do you grapple with 4th of July? What do you think about that?
So I mean, growing up, we always used to go see the fireworks. Not knowing the history, you understand what I'm saying? And just going with the fly and going with everybody is going. But until you start to delve in and do your history, that things start to change as you get older. You understand what I'm saying? And once I started to do research and started to follow a lot of scholars, my mindset started to change towards the 4th of July. Like I said before, all right, the the theatrics and things like that, cool. I get, but now I just don't, it's just not as big as it used to be to me. You understand what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's because I know what it really truly is, and I know what it like. You understand? Like my ancestors were enslaved. You know what I'm saying? Doing the history, doing my research on my mother and my father's side, speaking to my elders, figuring out what's going on, and explaining to them. And like the 4th of July is not what it's all cracked up to be. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? Like
Right.
our people were in chains and slaves and things like that. So why am I celebrating a holiday that where my people were locked up and being, tortured and do nah, I just that's what it kind of just left my appetite. Granted I had a child, so I of course I took her to the fireworks, of course, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to sit
Hmm.
up here and say this saint or something like that or
Hmm. Hmm.
perfect. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just certain holidays I just choose to say, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? And on top of that, it kind of people that didn't look like me didn't understand where my viewpoints were.
Right.
So,
Right.
yep.
To piggyback off what you're saying, to piggyback off what you're saying, I am pretty much had the same experience. Um, as a young boy, summertime, school's out, you're having fun. 4th of July hits. It's like, oh snap, we're gonna see the fireworks. We're gonna see the fireworks, and it's a cultural event from a kid's lens of just fun and joy, as far as signifying that summer's here, summer's arrived.
Correct. Yep.
And that as a young child gives you enough solace. As you get older and you get knowledge of self, you realize the perversion of the 4th of July just even before the transatlantic slave trade occurs, how the
Hmm.
original inhabitants got their ass whooped to take this land to have a 4th of
I
July.
know.
You got
Exactly.
that first, which feels like you're operating, off stolen land, celebrating joy about claiming a new land as your own. That's weird. And
Yep.
then once you factor in the slave trade and how, in particular, when it comes to America, Black Americans were transported here as cattle, as products, and we're
Hmm.
treated with more brutality than cows are today. And even though the food industry is crazy in itself. But just treated as less subhuman.
Yep.
I think, and mind you, there'll be people who will say, "Well, that was the time. That was the time." You have to understand,
Mm,
you know,
get that all
people
the time.
back, people were, you can't blame a culture for its time about how they reckoned with things. You can't judge people today's morality with back then. Well, first and foremost, there were abolitionists back then.
Correct.
There were opposers back then. There was
Right.
debates back then. There was a pushback from a moral sense about what was going on back then. There was
Right.
actually the inhabitants, the people who were getting brutalized, who were saying, "Hey, I don't like this.
Right.
This
Right.
doesn't
Word.
feel right." You know what I mean? So
Word.
there was an ignoring of the pleas of
Right.
the victims.
Correct.
Um, and on top of that, there was a legal issue because even after, I forgot what year it was, but even after slavery was, it was illegal in transportation, where there was a moment in our history where it was now illegal to transport humans. Maybe you can have what you have forever and ever, but at this moment, we're no longer transportation. We're never people like Questlove from the Roots. His great great grandfather was an illegal transport because there was people who were still illegally going back to Africa, getting
Correct.
people, and they're bringing them over and then sneakily selling them off as new product. So it's like there's people who are here not just legal at the time, who came here
Hmm.
uh, through immoral, brutal means, but people who came here illegally when it was already outlawed after a while, transportation, and they still were brought over by boats because people were outlawed still in the name of commerce off the backs of Black Americans. So I never like to hear the idea of just get over it, you know, just get over it.
Right.
We're all
Exactly.
we're
The
we're all,
same way. Same
we're all
thing.
Americans.
Right. Exactly. Just get over it. But they don't say that about the Holocaust. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They don't tell them to get
As we
over it.
shouldn't. As we
Right.
shouldn't.
As we shouldn't. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Evil's
just like,
evil.
what are we talking about? Right.
Yeah.
That's my thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, and to your point, I don't know why we try to decode and understand the humanity and evils done on 1776 to our people, but we have to always remember the brutality strictly of other folks and not try to humanize them, which I'm not in favor of doing. Um, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, like if Hitler was crazy, which we all know he was, then so was Thomas Jefferson.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
I don't care how many people he raped and coddled in his bed. He was still a rapist. He was still a murderer. He was still a brutal
Right.
person. I don't have to idolize him because, you know, his 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 collaboration in a document that didn't really speak to me 200 some odd years ago. So I'm with you on that. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? I'm with you on that. I earlier I had a quote I posted about the Frederick Douglass, and Frederick Douglass, to quote him,
Yep.
he goes, and what is the American slave? Wait, what to the American slave is your 4th of July? He answers, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, the American slave, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty and unholy license, your national greatness, swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him more bombast, fraud, deception, impurity, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. Um, and he goes on and on. But basically, he called out the hypocrisy.
Yes.
Um, Frederick Douglass, and I urge all my brothers and sisters to continue to have knowledge of self. When they engage in getting their hot dog links, getting their flags out, and engaging in the commerce of 4th of July. Remember there are our ancestors 200, 300 years ago who, God willing, are watching us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Trust me, man. I believe it, yo.
And
They're
yo,
looking down. They like, come on, man. What are y'all doing?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, and you know it's crazy, Jamal. Like, yo, and anything I've ever done in life, not anything, but a lot of things. You know, this is gonna sound crazy. This might sound morbid. But yeah, I be wondering, like, shit. I wonder if they how they feel about me right now. I wonder if I'm making them proud. I wonder if I'm making them
yeah,
proud. When I'm arguing with somebody about Jordans and trying to like rip one off somebody's hand, or if or if I'm fighting with somebody over some stupid and frivolous, if I'm getting settled in the current modern American lackadaisical capitalist society and being tricked sometimes into
yeah,
follow certain games, are they looking at me like, bro, like you lost a plot, or like, yo, man, we fought and rebelled so you can hold yourself up high and not turn into not fall to politics. I wonder if I make them proud. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if you have I don't know if you have illusions or ideas of how you honor your ancestors. I don't know if you have those same thoughts.
I mean, see, because I'm like more that Pac spirit. You know what I mean? One minute it's just like you're in that leading with that rebel mindset. Then the next minute, you out having a good time, partying. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's weird. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I still try to honor them. In a good light, especially speaking up for injustice situations
Right, right,
or engaging in good moral standards. And you know what I'm saying? And like I said, when it comes to the town and things like that, or talking to the local town people about what's going on, especially when we get into it, Spring Valley and things like that.
right, right.
But even just talking to younger teenagers, like I feel like like I said, I'm starting to flag girls a little bit off topic, but I'm starting to flag girls football team.
Oh,
So
nice,
I'm
nice.
trying to get them, acclimated. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get my daughter, but as you know, she's might be going away to college.
Right, right.
So, but even with raising her, you understand what I'm saying? Instilling principles and stuff in her. And, just trying to get her to really realize. And some of the younger kids too, even like her friends, like I'll talk to them, I'll talk to anybody. You know what I mean? And even like I said, some of my close friends, they get them to understand what's going on out here.
Right, right.
So I feel like I'm on, like, I'm there, and it's like I got one foot in at the matrix and one
I
foot out. You understand what I'm
I hear
saying?
you.
That's how I want to put it. It's crazy. Like I said, we live in this crazy, beautiful world. It's just like you got to figure out a way to navigate it, man. Some days I just be like, I ain't want to be dealing with it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you. It's uh it's hard not to be caught up in the matrix. It's hard not to sometimes fall into frivolous things that'll quickly entertain you
Hmm.
and satisfy a short attention span that we all
Yeah.
are having. Um, I'm that guy who grew up, in capitalism. I'm that guy that grew up, idolizing, wrestlers and athletes and
Hmm.
musicians and playing video games, playing sports and really digging into Americana.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, as I got older, I realized a lot of things about Americana was not strong substantively. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
as I got older, I'm trying to like the way you say you're trying to talk to young girls today and young people today, teens about what to look out for in life. I've also found
Hmm.
myself in the later years as I turned 40 this fall. I found
Hmm.
myself being this OG now. Like, oh, I'm the OG now.
Correct.
I'm the
Right.
OG.
You the OG
I'm saying,
now.
oh
Yeah.
snap. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember like 20 years ago in '05 and '06, being a young
Hmm.
guy and 19, 20 years old, working at Home Depot. And shout out to my OG then, Ron and Dennis. These were guys who were 20, 25 years my senior then. And they're telling me what to look out for. Hey man, if you get divorced, look out for this. Hey man, if you're black, so you need to look out for that, look out for this. And giving me game about different things about life
Yeah.
that I would either somewhat know already, or they give me more context around it. And
Right.
I
Give
remember
an
this thing,
idea.
and I remember thinking to myself then, like, okay, I'm a young guy, and these are OGs. give me game that I don't know yet, but I guess I'll need to know this down the line. Now I find myself as an elder statesman telling young folks, yo, look out for this, look out for that. Watch out for that credit card.
Yo,
Don't open that credit card up yet. Do
yo, I'm
this, do
telling you,
that. You know what I'm
man.
saying? So,
Listen,
and I'm coming, I don't know how you feel, but me, I'm coming to a place where I'm enjoying being an OG.
yeah,
I
I
enjoy
do
it.
too.
Yeah.
Starting to embrace it, you know.
How have you embraced being an OG and giving game as an elder statesman now?
Uh, so I'm sorry. Say that again.
How have you embraced, like, how or how do you like it, and how have you embraced like being an OG
Oh,
now, giving it and giving game?
um, I guess because it's just like from my experience, you know what I'm saying, and from what I've seen and how you know what it's just like that. I'm going off of that, and plus of what I've learned over the years. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
And I think right then and there it's just like, well, damn, you know, the mantle is kind of passed to you now. Now you have to, you know what I'm saying? You're not, you know, you're an
right.
older guy now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we ain't old, but you know what I'm saying. We are
Yeah.
what,
Live
mid
experience.
right, lived experience, you know what I'm saying? So yo, you know, we're both at 40, you know, I'll be 40 in next month in August. Um,
Nice.
so it's different, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you know, now you have to, you know, you have to be that person, like you got to be that lead, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Even with some of my younger cousins in my family, you know, it's just like you know, I would like them to come to me more. And you know, if they seek some type of advice, and like I said, I'm not perfect, but at the end of the day, I think I would give you the best advice, and I wouldn't judge you. You understand what I mean? And it's easier. I think I'm an easy person to talk to. You
Right,
know,
right,
even like with my daughter, that's why I said I keep an open line of communication with her. That's easier for her to come to me and talk to me,
right,
especially when she's going through problems. This is what I try to explain to, you know, a lot of my friends. I tell them like, hey, listen, you know, I get that you want sometimes lead with an iron fist, but you know, sometimes you got to ease up off the pedal. You
right, right,
understand? And it's like I said, you could take it, you could take this information and do with you what you will with it. But at the end of the day, you know, back in the day when we grew up, you knew how it was with
hmm
our parents, some of our parents, or even our grandparents or aunts or whatever. You know, some of them you couldn't really talk to because they led with that Gen X boomer mindset
hmm
to where
hmm
you are a child, you are seen and not spoke. You understand what I'm saying? That old
Absolutely,
crazy
absolutely,
saying. I
absolutely.
don't agree with that, and that's the problem. You know, that's why a lot of us kind of grew up, lack of better words, fucked up. You
Hmm
know,
hmm
if I can curse on this,
Absolutely, yes, you
you
can.
understand
Yes, you
what?
can.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's the truth. And when you go around and you see, even you see Mike, even you see people in our age range, bro. Like, yo, man, some of these dudes out here ain't moving right. You know what I mean? Oh,
Mm-mm,
and I know
mm-mm.
who they are. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I said, I'm not saying no names or nothing, but it's just like we ain't got to say the name because people know. You can even ask the women in the community. You know what I mean? It's just like, yo, like, come on, what are we talking about? And again, this
Right,
is not us being perfect, but
right,
at the
right,
end of the day, yo, like, there has to be some type of moral ground or some
right,
type of respect too. You know what I'm saying?
right, right,
Like, come on, and some type of a level of communication to where it's just like, you know, be honest. Like, I
right.
mean, you can't just keep running around and doing X, Y, and Z. Then when somebody calls you out and you don't want to take accountability, what are we? We're creating more disaster.
I agree. I agree. I agree. As you said a lot of points there, and I want to get through a couple of them. Like for one, I do agree with you that our parents, grandparents, some of the people from the boomer generation, the way they had a lack of communication with when it came to their children, us,
Hmm.
it kind of did some of us a disservice.
Right.
A lot of us didn't know how to either articulate our frustrations, our mental health, our we weren't given tools as far as sexual knowledge,
Correct.
um,
Even financial,
and in financial, the biggest one of all, probably I
the
hear
biggest one of all.
a lot of people always tell a lot of people always mention, listen, man, I wish I knew how to do my taxes in 12th grade and stuff like that. And we just weren't taught right. We weren't given the tools right. We were just probably pushed. I remember graduating high school, '03 from Rampo.
You
Um,
were an afterthought.
Now when we were afterthought, I remember like even like that spring or winter to spring, like, what am I gonna do in my life? Some people know what they got going on and they're gonna go to college or whatever. What am I gonna do again? And then I would hear like, so for some elders, you should go to healthcare, you should go to radiology, you should do this, but I'm like, well, why? And no one would really break down to me This is a plan.
Exactly.
This is how much
Exactly.
this is how much an apartment costs. This is how much you'll make if you do this job. This is how much you make if you do that job. This is where the economy is going. This is what Bush is doing right now with tax cuts. This is how it'll affect you. Like I need certain stuff broken down, maybe line by line. You know what I'm
But that, but
saying?
right.
Especially at 17 years old. Especially at 17 years old. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I find myself now to OGs giving like nook and cranny detail advice. You know what I'm saying? Like yo, and if I don't know the answer, I'm like, I don't know this, but try to go here or there or look this up. And right now you're in the digital age. You have more resources
Yo,
to figure
telling
this
you.
out. So you know what I'm saying? I got
Yep.
we caught the early age of the internet where it wasn't that robust yet. It wasn't that
Right.
expansive as far as knowledge. Now you got AI telling you things, teaching you things, which I don't know about that. But you know, so I try my best now to give what the boomers didn't really give me, to what my parents didn't give me, and I give my parents a lot of credit. They did what they
Of
could.
course. Yeah, right. Rightfully so.
They did what they could. They did what they know, and they did what they were taught. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to. As I see people in our generation, we're trying the millennials. We're trying to break that chain, that cycle.
Yes.
If you care
We
as a
are.
parent,
Right. We're the sandwich generation. That's what we're
yeah.
called. You know that, right? We're the sandwich
I
generation.
didn't know that. Well, the sandwich generation. Okay, the sandwich generation. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because,
I follow an
because-
economist, Dr. Boyce Watkins. He explains that how
oh yeah, I
we're
know
the
that with Watkins.
yeah, yeah. He explains that he broke that down really well, like how we're the sandwich generation is because we're caught in the middle, you know what I mean? And we're in the middle of the biggest wealth transfer too, depending, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I know with not to put my business out there. You know, like I said, I have a business, I have other things, but one of my elders is, like I said, she's up there, but she has the wealth, you know what I mean? But that's why they say, between the millennials and the boomers and the Gen X's and the Gen Z's, the millennials are in the sand. We're in the middle.
We're in the
You
middle.
see what I'm saying? So
Makes
that's why
sense.
it's right. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we are, I think we're a unique bunch is because we see, like, we kind of see it both sides. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And now that I feel like, we spend more time with our kids too. That's a proven statistic if you look it up. That
Hmm.
is the truth. You know what I mean? We spend more time with our kids. And I truly think like our kids should be the next generation to fight and get us out, depending on, you know what I'm saying, how things are going. It like I said, it's up in the air. I can't telepathic, I can't um predict the future, you
Right,
know.
right, right. And to your point, um, like I said, we're recording this live on July 4th, 2025
Mhm.
on a Friday. Yesterday, Thursday the 3rd, unfortunately a spending bill was passed that could screw up our daughters down the line, depending on what you do with that information, how you navigate your life for the next 25 years. But so there's going to be guts to Medicaid. There's going to be guts to certain programs like SNAP, um, and just a lot of social services in general. So I tell my kids, my young people, listen, man, if you don't know what you want to do in your life right now, figure it out, because there'll be certain social services that you
Hear me?
won't have. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Can you hear me? I may have lost you for a second. You're a little frozen. Oh, there you go. You back. You back. You back. Can you?
Yeah, yeah, this damn internet's crashing out over here, man.
No, don't worry about it. Don't
Can
worry
you hear
about
me?
it. Yeah, I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was saying. Now,
yeah.
I was saying that to your point. Yesterday, July 3rd. Yesterday, July 3rd
Hmm.
was the enactment of the spending bill. Um, it was passed. I would say it was passed, and supposedly that spending bill is going to gut different services like Medicaid, SNAP benefits, among various types of social services that will hurt our children, your daughter, my daughters. So I warn young folks today: if you don't know what you want to do in your life, figure it out now, because there's a lot of things that I was afforded, that our parents, our grandparents were afforded, that are going to be gone. So you cannot make mistakes now. You know what I'm saying? You cannot make mistakes now, financially and
Right.
fiscally. Fiscally, you're gonna have to bat 1,000. Coming out of high school. You know what I'm saying? And you'll have
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah, definitely,
and,
definitely, yeah,
and you'll have less services to do it. Like I've seen, like they're cutting spending now on dentistry, like financial loans. If you want to be a dentist, if you want to be a doctor, like they're gonna really cut back on various services and Pell Grants, etc. So you really got to be on your A game coming out, and the system's already set up against us if you have a black and brown persuasion. So, good luck. So I hear you, bro. I hear you. I'm with you on that. Um, but yeah, that's the 4th of July in a nutshell. That's how we view it. That's how we view our relation as mentors and mentees in this current age. Like I said, I find myself in a unique position where I am a mentor now who's, like I said, giving a lot of game. I'm constantly trying to give people details about like what I didn't get, what I didn't receive, as far as tutelage, and even socially.
right.
Like I said, I mentioned an OG of mine, Ron. Shout out to Ron. And when he was going through divorce about in
Yeah.
'05, when he was going through a divorce in '05, and he was talking about alimony and custody and all that stuff, he was frightening me.
Hmm.
I was like, "Yo, this is not a
Yeah, yeah,
this is not only a situation that I want to be a part of, but I don't even want to sniff the idea of companionship because it seemed like as a man, the way he was describing to me at the time, that to be a male trying to seek companionship legally is somewhat of a roll of a dice. You know what I'm saying? Because
right,
if you if you either bet wrong, I mean, if you do wrong as a companion,
correct.
if you wild out, that's your business. It is what it is.
Okay.
You wild out, you messed up, you ruined your happy home, quote unquote happy home. That's your business. You got to own up to it. But uh, Chris Rock had that joke about OJ. I know this is an extreme joke, but he was like, he was like, "Hey man, he was paying $15,000 a month in alimony, $30,000 a month in childcare, and she riding around in another man's car or whatever. Uh, she's and you oh, I lost you. I lost you. My bad. I think I lost him. Yeah, I think I lost him. But yeah, I mean, maybe some technical difficulties where I lost them all. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's important to be a mentor to uh to the youth today, especially in today's economy. But moving forward, when he gets back on, I want to have a conversation with him about. He wants to get back in. Yeah, jump back in. Yeah, jump. He wants to get back in. Anyway,
I'm back.
wait on to get. There you go. There you go. You good?
Yeah, man. My fault. This damn, I don't know what the hell is going on, man. This damn Verizon, this is ridiculous, man. It's been acting choppy lately in this area. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, man. Yo, it's crazy. Fiber optics and the services they do and don't give you. I feel like
Yeah,
I feel like we have the technology to like give each other the best services possible, but we select it based on the plan you had, based on
right. Yeah, man.
the
Shit is
you know.
crazy, yo. Don't make
Yeah,
no sense.
yeah. But but yeah, man. I was talking about like
The whole old thing with OJ and stuff like that.
yeah. Basically, I was telling you and the artist how like um my OG Ron, what he did was he gave me some pointers back in the day about like what to look out for as a young man getting into a relationship. He was going through a marriage
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was going through a marriage that was going south, and he was giving me some pointers on what to look out for. And he was pretty much scaring me, like it was like in a sense about like
Hmm.
uh, um, about the pitfalls from a man's point of view,
Correct. Yeah.
a breadwinner, a provider
Yep.
when it all comes crashing down. And I remember thinking to myself, like, yo, I'm nervous about collaborating with another person because, it's like that Chris Rock joke, you know, you know, I'm not gonna give you half my money, and because you fell in love with me, he was like,
Word.
I'm gonna have to kill her. Obviously, he was joking about
Right.
OJ.
It's a joke. Yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah. It's a
joke,
joke.
but
Hmm.
basically what he was illustrating, what Ron would tell me is like, as a man, uh, connecting with another woman, inviting her into your life, and then standing up and being a quote unquote breadwinner and or provider of her and a household. It could be a loving thing, it could be a fruitful thing, but
Correct.
it is a gamble. It's a gamble.
Yes.
It's a gamble. It's a risk. And there, before I invite you to the conversation, I want to say that it's it's almost a risk of someone who may, and I'm not saying automatically, but may have innate different perspectives on love and ethics. Because I always make a joke. I always say, I hope gay dudes are having the best time of their lives as partners because y'all should have the same more or less ways of looking at love as far as
Word.
from a man's point of view,
Word.
where some could say that a woman's love can be fickle, it could go with the wind. It can be predicated on, well, what can you do for me? What can you provide for me? How can you shelter me? How can you protect me? How can you, in essence, take care of me? And I don't even mean in a gold digger sense,
Yeah, yeah.
but
No, no, no.
even in
But
a
it's the protection, and it's just the nature. That's
survivalist,
nature.
yeah,
Yeah,
survivalist,
nature.
yes,
Right.
yeah, nature and some,
Women are prone to that. I get it. I understand that. I
yeah,
totally get all
yeah,
that. Which
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. So even in a survivalist, nurturing sense, I get the concerns. And for the record, black women today in particular, are the most educated. They're the most they're the most successful as far as in the workforce. They were out there doing it and making it. They are. But I do think when it comes to collaboration and connecting, there is the onus of, it's up to you, male or man, to show me a pathway of leadership, and it's on you. And what's your plan for us? You know what I'm saying? And there's lot of pressure there, and it's a gamble,
Yeah.
and it's a gamble and a risk because you know there may not be the same pressures in reverse on the inverse. A man might not say, "You ain't got a car, you ain't got no whip,
Right.
you ain't got what? You didn't finish college? What, girl? I
Right.
can't fuck with you.
Yeah.
But this is me.
Yeah.
This is me expounding out loud. I understand life is complicated. So there's a lot that women would say too in response. But let me have the floor. How do you feel as a young man today, entering his 40s? I assume you're single, or
Single. Yeah, I'm single at the moment. Yes,
so
single and
how
actively looking.
yeah, how do you feel as a young bachelor in today's social climate, um, dating, and what do you feel like women, women and men are and aren't getting about each other?
So to start off, I'm a single parent. You know what I mean. On top of that, that's a whole nother thing. But it's just like as a parent, you know what I mean, and dating, I had to put a lot of things on hold. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I couldn't date. You understand what I'm saying? And there was times I could. You know what I'm saying? But it was hard because I was kind of one foot in, one foot out. Because of my daughter, and that I expect she needed more of my time. But now, as it towards going out and trying to find somebody, it was pretty much it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. I hear the stories. You understand what I'm saying? It's not even just that. It's even courting a woman. You know what I mean? Like even with the men, like guys tell me like, yo, we gotta spin this, we gotta do that, we gotta, you know. it's not $20 anymore to go out. It's about over 100 and something dollars. If you're gonna go out and you guys are who you are, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
It's not like it. The dating now is totally different than what it was back then.
Right.
And I think what trouble we're having now is just trusting one another. The gender wars have gotten way out of, you know what I mean? That's part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's just so it's a combination of things, and it's just like it's hitting us all at once. I say, we got to get back to just being honest and letting people know where you're at. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
I say you got to start there, especially what I tell a lot of men. I tell men, just start where you're at and just be honest with the person. Hey, listen, look, this is where I'm at.
Hmm.
This is
Hmm.
where I'm trying to go,
Hmm.
and let's see if we can work or not. You know what I mean? And it's not like I said, everybody you date you don't have to have sex with. That's a whole nother
I hear you.
misconception.
I hear you.
That's what I keep telling people. Even like, like I said, even with women, I say, hey, listen, are you actively dating? Cool. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know about anybody else. If I'm going to be the one, I'm going to be the one. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? You
Right.
have to have that confidence. You'll know when you like somebody and you know when you don't. You understand what I mean?
Right.
And on top of that, I want to say, and if you guys are really going to go forward with this, couples or whoever, you should give yourself at least a solid year. You know what I mean? To figure out where you're at, because you got to really get to know the person. You understand? You
Right.
don't know, like I said, you guys may have to sometimes stay the night at each other's crib, or if that's not available, hell, you guys may have to get a room. I'm being
Right.
realistic here. I'm talking about the average person. I'm not talking about a person that makes over 400,000 a year, man or female. I'm not talking about that, because I think most people don't make that in general. So I'm not even going to go there. But I'm talking
Right.
about the average person. For the average person, if you guys are going to date, you're gonna have to date accordingly. You ain't gotta, you understand what I'm saying? Don't overthink it. Just date, and you know what I mean, and be open and honest with each other. I think
Right.
if you can do that, you know what I'm saying, and take your time too, and not rush things, I think it it'll all work out. You
Right.
understand what I mean?
Right.
It's like I said, I can go into a lot of topics. You know what I mean? It's just like even with women dating married men. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother field. You understand what I'm saying? But I
Absolutely.
say that that's a polygamy field. I tell people you're practicing polygamy,
Hmm.
whether you don't see it or not. You understand
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I tell people
Hmm.
this all the time. Well, that's practicing polygamy. That's all. But you can't sit up here and talk shit about, oh well, I would never date a man that has another woman, but you're
Hmm.
dating a married man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even with fucking guys, it's the same shit.
Hmm. Hmm.
If that answers the question, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like I
funny.
said, man, we did this whole dating stage is tough.
I hear you. I could imagine. I can imagine for you how tough it is. You
Yeah,
reference
man.
you saying that the married man joint is interesting because I saw a video yesterday. A friend of mine, he posted something in a group chat about a woman. I guess she went on that program on that platform, Tonight's Conversation, and
Hmm.
she would say, what if what if she said, I'm the side chick. I admit it, I'm the side chick. But what if the guy like him likes the side chick more than his actual girl? What does that mean? What does that mean? And we're, and she was trying to pretty much boast herself. Maybe it was through ego or through desperation that she is more liked by the gentleman um, than the actual wife or girlfriend that he claims.
Mm.
Now the
Hmm.
response to her was like, and I'll paraphrase, but the response to her was like, "Well, it don't matter because he claims the other woman. He don't claim you. So he may like you in a certain box that you fit in nice and snug to his certain day to day what machinations of what he needs you for, but he's not pledging to you the good, the bad, the ugly, which means he don't value as much.
Yeah.
You're still devalued overall. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I do feel like when it comes to whether it's sex or just feelings, we need to have more pride in ourselves. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because if we're just looking for small wins to boost our egos, we look crazy. And my boy, he was like, "Yeah, but don't you think the man is responsible in that situation?" I'm like, "Of course, yes. He's culpable and complicit in continuing a situation where one, he's lying to his lady, his main squeeze, his
Yep.
lady. He's being dishonest, which is terrible. And on top of that, he is stringing along a girl who may not have the mental fortitude to to take advocacy for herself. But I also
Right.
told my boy, listen, there's no honor amongst thieves. So it's like I also don't feel bad for a lady or anybody, even on the flip side, on the inverse, if it's a man doing this. I don't feel bad for anybody who is a quote unquote side chick or side dude who is wallowing about not being the main squeeze, because if you ever bank with somebody, you can't expect that thief is gonna hold up a standard to you in court. They may flip on you. They may flip on
Hell
you.
yeah.
There's no honor amongst thieves. So like anybody you conspire to do dirt with, there could be some blowback, and you have to acknowledge that I'm doing dirt. You have to
Right.
accept that I am doing dirt, and I should either look out for myself or at least accept the terms of what I'm doing. And I
Right.
feel and I feel like and to your point, in today's standards, it's like I may have standards for you. I may have standards for you if I'm feeling righteous, but I might not have as much standards for you if I'm feeling selfish. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
like so when I can imagine for you as a single bachelor dating, it's hard to find people out there who have a certain code, ethics, and morals that align with you as far as how to plan out a future. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, it is. You know what I'm saying? Because again, it's just like I said before, this whole thing with the 1 foot in, back to the earlier conversation we had, back with the
Yeah.
1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like I said, from what I know now, it's just like I'm trying not to, you know what I mean? Having this next relationship. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And like I said, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not, because I think that's one thing that hurt me too. You know what I mean? Always trying to be perfect. You know what I mean? So I'm not. Like I said again, I like to party. I like to do things. I like to go out. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm also in a process of building. You understand what I mean? I'm trying to get even out of the situation. You know what I mean? That I may be facing. And trying to push forward. You know what I mean? And trying to get my daughter to the next level and get myself to the next level as well. I don't want to be with somebody that's always going to be, you know what I mean, out and about, or, you know what I mean, buying this, that, and the third, and not understanding how capitalism works. You know what I'm saying? That,
I
that, that,
Go
that's,
ahead. Go
that's,
ahead.
that's what I'm looking for. I need somebody like, you know what I mean, on that, like, that has the militant mindset, but having fun doing it. You know what I mean?
I'm going to ask you a question about.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question of, do you find when you're dating women or just talking to women that they find empathy for your situation,
Mm.
um, as far as being a man trying to have social mobility and elevate, but through capitalism. But before I ask that, I do want to say, because for the record, sidebar. I find plenty of women. I find plenty of women who know me, who are friendly with me, acquaintances, even some friends, who lament that, Mike, I want to find a good man. I want to find a good man. Where are the good men? And I'd be like, well, are you looking in the club or are you looking at GameStop? Are you looking at the
Correct.
library? Are you looking at the library?
Right.
Are you,
Hmm.
are you looking at the library? Are you going to the museums, or are you going to somewhere where you shouldn't be to find quality product?
Correct.
Where are
Right.
you, where are you looking? Where's your attention span? What are you valuing in your search? But
Right.
I also ask myself, are you and I think we're all agents of capitalism, but in the context
Hmm.
of dating, I do wonder as a man. And I felt this way when I was single. I've been married for 15 years almost.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Solid.
but well, 14 years almost, but still, I but even when I was single, I would ask myself, are the women I'm seeing and their standards about entertainment and providing, are they agents of capitalism or are they understanding? You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Because I feel like I've had women tell me, "Oh, I can't be home. I can't be home on a weekend day. I gotta go out. I gotta go out, and he gotta take me out.
I've had women like that.
Yeah,
Listen, I've
you know what I'm
had
saying?
that too. I've heard that too.
Like he can't be a homebody. I need to be outside. I need to see some. And I wonder, like, well,
Hmm.
I wonder, well, why? Because don't get it twisted. There are beautiful things to experience outdoors. There
Oh
are
yeah, definitely.
there's things all artistically, culturally. There's things to learn that you need to learn through life experience. You know what I'm saying? You need to sink your teeth, or not your teeth, your fingers into the dirt to learn certain things about the earth, no doubt. But
Right.
I do also recognize, especially as a provider, that there's a cost to doing business outdoors. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And if you are going to be the main benefactor or no main provider of these experiences, then you need a partner to realize this has a cost to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Right.
and what I've been hearing, and I'm asking you for more info because you're the bachelor. But what I've been hearing from women when I talk to them is that they don't really reckon with the idea that um, there is a cost I'm asking to be when I ask to be provided for or to be courted. There's a cost of courting. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they recognize that cost. You know what I'm saying? But what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you feel like women are empathetic to you and your day to day travels as far as a potential mate, or they don't sometimes there's a disconnect on how to appreciate a man court or you as a man courting them?
It's I would say 50-50. I'm gonna I'm gonna go probably 50-50. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I've had women that understood, and I have women that didn't. You know what I mean? And it's just I get and like I said, I get both sides. I totally understand. But again, it's just like living in denial, and like you got to understand most men. If we're talking about we're 35, 40, most men have children
Right.
around our age. You understand? So you're cutting out you're slimming your chances now. You know what I'm saying? Of
Right.
finding somebody, the potential mate. I had said this to
Right.
one person, that I said, you keep cutting. Even like with me, I was cutting out, like I said, but I said, you know what? I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? It's just like I can't sit up here and nitpick over certain things. Again, like I said, if you do not understand how this system works or capitalism, it's going to be hard for you to date. I truly think so.
Mhm.
I'm just putting it out there because just like you had, it's like I said before, especially at a time like this. Come on now, look at a time like this.
Yes,
You know what I mean? You're
especially.
gonna want to keep, yeah. And you see what's going on up in there in the office and whatnot. Are you kidding me? You're gonna be wanting
Yeah.
money flying out the door,
Yeah,
like,
this spending bill that just got passed yesterday will not help the dating experience.
oh, what? This is Mike, and that's why I said that. This is what I keep telling. I said it. Listen, you gotta understand what is about to happen. I'm telling people, yo, and it's not. This is not fear mongering. This is
I mean,
just like, yo,
real quick before we continue, some would
yeah.
say there's people who in the higher ups in government or elsewhere who do not want us to be socially mobile to procreate and to build
Oh,
families,
of course.
and they want us to be broke and fight each other instead of building together. But go ahead.
Right, exactly. Like I said before, it's just like that's why I said I need somebody to understand that and what's going on. You know what I mean? And navigate it together and figure it out together. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's just like, and it's and I've come across women that do understand it.
Shout to them.
But again, it's right. Shout out to them. And it's just like it's about being compatible. You understand what I'm saying? And compatibility. You guys have to have that compatibility. And on top of that, and this is another important thing I believe in, when you date somebody and when you marry them, you don't just marry that person, you marry the family. I don't care what
I
you
agree.
say. And that is very, very important. Trust me on this. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's because it's not like you don't have to see them. You're going to have to see them. And you know what I mean? Depending on the relationship and the rapport you have with them, it's
Right.
all going to determine. It does. It plays a big factor. I tell people this all the time. It's in every culture. I don't care if you're Italian, Jewish, Muslim, First Baptist. I don't care what the bottom line is, yo. When you marry a person, you marry the family.
I
It's just
agree.
that simple.
I agree.
And that's another thing. It's just like I want people to understand that you may not get along with certain family members and whatnot. You know, and I know with me, I know how to navigate through all that. From what I learned and how I, you know what I'm saying, is especially based off my last relationship, I know how to navigate that. You know what I mean? And all the studying I have done and all the work I've done on myself. And you know, like I said, I'm more into I'm a like counseling. I'm heavily into that,
Right,
like
right,
therapy and things like that. Like I'm planning on going back to school for that. You know, and I want
awesome,
to get my coaching license. You know what I'm saying? Because like
awesome.
again, it's like I know how to deal with hard conversations. Like you can put me up in a hard conversation, I'm gung ho and I'm ready to have it. You know,
Right,
it's
right,
just like I can face it dead on. You know what I'm saying?
right,
That's why I said I think when it comes to me finding a partner, I need a partner that's gonna, you know what I mean, that can get we can get through hard conversation and tough
right, right,
times. You
right.
know,
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, yeah, I agree with you. I agree that that there needs to be an understanding about how to understand a man's purview about life, finances, and how to navigate
yeah,
capitalism. Because too often it seems like it feels like I don't care how you get it done, but just court me. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how you get it done. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, that's true.
there's a popular West Coast socialite. Her name is B Simone, and a few
Yeah, I know
years,
who B Simone
you
is.
know,
Yeah, yeah, I know who B Simone.
and a few years ago, she had a video where some of it was in jest, but a lot of it felt honest and earnest from her, where she was saying like she needs an entrepreneur. That's what she needs to be in her life. She needs an entrepreneur, and I don't care how you get it. I don't care if you're a rapper, drug dealer, whatever. Just I need you to get it. So when we're laying in bed tonight, and I tell you I gotta go on a flight. I'm paraphrasing. Sorry, B. I'm paraphrasing. But when I gotta get on a flight and go somewhere, you can understand my lifestyle, and you can either match me or meet me when I come back, etc. But then I guess last week or 2 weeks ago, she was saying that like she can't shop no more at H&M. Oh no, she can't shop no more at Bloomingdale, so she got to go to
Yeah,
H&M.
yep, yeah,
And
yep. I
so
seen that.
she can't shop no more at Bloomingdale, so now she got to shop at H&M. I'm like, yo, this is an agent of chaos. This is, an agent of capitalism. That's a situation.
Exactly. That a bingo.
You
Prime
know what I'm saying?
example. And that's what I'm talking and that's what I'm talking about, bro. And that's why I said that. And that's why I made those comments. And this is what I keep trying to tell people. I tell them all the time. I said, you have to understand what's going on out here. You know, and if you don't, you're gonna be caught up in a bad situation. Listen, when we get into that Diddy topic, it's the same thing. It's like I tell people, if you don't understand capitalism, you will become a victim of it. Like I said, when we're all pretty much victims and we're all part of it in the system and implemented in it. You know what I mean? We're all battling through it. You know what I mean? And it's like I said before, I wish I would have understood this way back then. Be so we decided learning it now. You understand? It's just like it sucks. It's because and people say, oh, everything shouldn't be about money. I said, you know what? I agree with you. But that's not what them bills and that's not what all this other stuff is saying, yo.
I agree.
I,
I agree. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, it's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? It really is, yo. But that's the mindset I'm on right now. I'm just trying to, like I said, break down barriers. Even getting certain family members to understand certain things. Like, yo, listen, you guys have to understand the system you're up against. This is a juggernaut. You know what I mean? And if we don't face it together, we're gonna fucking sink.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
just
And
that.
yes, like and to your point, like we have to reckon with the idea that we are both behind enemy lines as far as capitalism. So we can't fight each other in the midst of this because we'll both argue with each other versus getting to a solution. You know what I'm saying? Let me play that B Simone clip real quick. Let me know if you can hear it. Hold up.
It's just my finances. Like
Yeah, yeah.
the budgeting, you see how I am nitpicking every little thing. I've never been like that. We were in Bloomingdale's yesterday. I'm like, we have to go to H&M.
Yeah.
Like I notice it in me now. Just
Yo,
And this is
that's a
this is
humble
after
awakening.
her. Yeah, this is after her professing the idea that like I need a man who's an entrepreneur, whether you sell drugs or whatever. And now it's
Yeah.
like you're tearfully crying or lamenting about having to go to H&M over Bloomingdale's. It's like, dude, you need to wake up and realize these are all enemies of you. You know what I'm saying? even H&M don't like you. You know what I'm saying? No, we have to look out for each other as some people. Otherwise, we're gonna fail apart. You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes to matters of, when it comes to matters of bachelors, when it comes to matters of bachelors and bachelorettes, when it comes to matters of bachelors and bachelorettes trying to find people, I always am amused by it because I'm like, I hope they have the right priorities, and it seems like you do. But far too often I'm seeing brothers and sisters.
Definitely.
I'm seeing brothers and sisters who don't have the right outlook on what they should be looking for in a mate. Now, let me ask you, earlier in the conversation, you opened up and said there were some things as a man that you would be nitpicky about or need to grow from or learn from as a bachelor. Can you expound and tell me some things in the past that you felt like you were either nitpicking about with women or in general that you had to learn from or grow out of? Was it superficial? Was it something like, what do you think it was for you? Take your time because I think the internet's breaking up.
For me, I think it was a lot had to do with superficial, but it also, when a woman asks you something on the internet, is breaking up. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm here, but yeah, you're
damn Wi-Fi, man.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I hear you now. You good, bro. You good, bro. Go ahead. You were saying superficial?
Yeah. So now say that. Yeah, say that again.
So because earlier, no, you good. Earlier, you had mentioned even for yourself, at times there was moments where you felt like you would nitpick as far as from man to woman. You would nitpick some things. You weren't at your best as far as selecting mates. You had some growing pains yourself. Can you expound on those growing pains? On those growing pains as a bachelor?
Right. So basically, it was about, even when it comes down to looks, I'm going to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, it came down to looks,
no doubt,
style and things like that.
No doubt.
Money wasn't, for some reason, money wasn't really, a big thing to me, because it's at the end of the day, it's just like, I felt like if I didn't have it, you know what I mean? I was going to figure out a way we can both get it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it was just mainly about personality sometimes, and and like be able to understand, and not always nagging me. You understand what I'm saying? That's one thing what would bother me. Like, if you're just gonna badger me, jump on my back all the time, and and I have to pull back and say, you know what, it may not be nagging, can be concern, and can be, just probably trying to give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You know what I mean? So it's just like I had a short temperament for that, but I also had to get back in the habit of just thinking like, hey, listen, there's a female. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna worry. They're gonna, you know what I mean? They operate differently, and it's also trying to regain my patience back.
Right. I hear you, having that empathy, because I'm dealing with a woman and we have different mind states or perspectives. That matters, and the factoring how to keep a certain how to conduct myself and how to keep a certain temperament and not to over anger myself over it. I understand. I'm with you. I understand. I've had those moments whether I was single or as a married man. Like, I gotta remember I'm dealing with a woman, and how she views life and what she values out of life may sometimes be different from me. Doesn't make her any less of a person. Doesn't make her any less of a decent human being who deserves the best out of me.
Yes.
I just gotta make sure that I can articulate my stances, my concerns, and hopefully we find a commonality and a common medium. I get it. I know recently I had an episode with my wife, and she spoke on how feminism had benefited men more than women. And when I posted that, that was a very, not just controversial clip in general, but I know for you in particular, you had a response to me on IG about it. It was a very thorough response.
Yeah.
It was a very thorough response. But let me play the clip just so the audience can have reference and then
Okay.
and then I'll give you a chance to now publicly reiterate what you had told me, because you give a thorough response. But first, let me play it.
Feminism benefits men more than it does. Mike, I have a real hot take. Feminism benefits men more than it does women.
How do you figure? I'm with you, but how do you figure?
Financially, women are now pursuing a lot higher paying jobs. So now your income at home is doubling, right? So your lifestyle is a lot better now, right? And also because we're less dependent and we're a little bit more like outgoing, there's a lot of things that we're doing now that I don't need to rely on you for that. And that's okay, because it takes the pressure off of you to do that for us. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
But for women, the work has doubled for a lot of women, where they're expected to take care of the house and still go out there and make money.
Right.
And still look good and still present herself a certain way. Mike, I have a real...
All right. So that was what she was saying in a nutshell in our previous episode. Let me stop sharing. Okay. And I remember you definitely had some agreements with it, but overall there are some things you want to nitpick and also give more full context around. So when you hear this idea that feminism has benefited men more than women, or has added to the American landscape, as a father of a daughter, and I have 3 daughters, how do you feel about that, and what do you feel like is missing from the conversation as far as everything we're talking about?
As far as from what we're talking about, I would say how it benefits men. Again, I don't know how fully I would agree with that, is because of the fact that, it's just like we're in it together. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like when it comes to that, especially if you're married, or or if you are with somebody or a mate, yes, women do have to work, and provide, because again, we don't live in that ecosystem anymore to where the man can just go and work and the women can stay home and raise the kids. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where the rubber meets the road. It's like I said before, we are in a very unique time now. And it's I feel like it's a lot harder, So I mean, does it benefit men in a sense? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, 2 things could be true. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I said before, it all depends on a person's situation too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, again, I feel like with both, again, I feel like it puts strains on both parties.
Right.
It doesn't make it easy. You understand what I'm saying? There was another clip. I mean, I guess this guy was trying to impersonate Kevin Samuels, and I guess he was trying to tell the guy, you might have seen it. He tried to tell the guy was just like, well, it's me and my wife. We both, we do things together. If I'm cooking or cleaning, she's putting together something. And the guy was just trying to tell him, so what kind of man are you? Like, what kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just trying to tell, like, it was crazy. And I'm just sitting up here saying, yo, they're working as a team. You understand what I'm saying? He says, well, I think he said that she makes a little bit more than him, but he also works. You understand? He was like, what's the difference? We're married. You understand? That's what he was. And the guy just cut him off. And I'm just like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, he just broke it down to you. Like, that's how they operate.
Right.
It's a lot. It's a lot, man.
It's definitely a lot. I'm pulling up an article right now that came out 2-3 weeks ago. It's from the New York Times, and the article it's been a fairly polarizing article that came out a few weeks ago. I think it was a column or op-ed. Basically, it was called "Men, Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back." I'm gonna share right now the article with you, but it's called "Men, Where Have You Gone? Please Come Back." And basically, it's an article about how, like, some women feel like men have just been missing as far as the quote unquote traditional man, and what was once labored as. Here it is. It's called. It was under the modern love section of the New York Times. So many men have retreated from intimacy. So many men have retreated from intimacy. hiding behind the ideas of basically, you know, just in fear of being judged or firewalls and curated persons, because you've seen a lot of men today who are pulling back from love. They're pulling back from intimacy because there's a fear of, I got to provide, I got to do so much. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of, and I've said to women like, yo, ladies, some of y'all are pushing men away. Some of y'all. Some men are naturally some men are naturally disgusting. Some men out there are naturally repugnant, disgusting, irrational, sexist, misogynistic, and are low bottom and do not deserve the time of day. They're given the time of day at times, but they don't deserve the time of day. But away from those guys, away from those guys, there are men out there who are naturally saying to themselves, you know what? I'll find my studio apartment and my Xbox. I'm not gonna invite nobody into my life because I don't want no drama. I don't want what comes with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to collaborate right now with nobody. I don't want no pressure, no judgment, etc. I'm cool being dolo right now. Whether that's fruitful for them in the long run, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But to your point, because I remember when you first sent me that response way back when, a few months ago, there was something you said. There was something you said to me in particular about economics, capitalism, and trade, and you had made the point. You had made the point to me. I transcribed it, so I'm gonna pull it up right now. I made sure I transcribed it.
You saved it, you saved it.
Yeah, I saved. Oh, you know what? I actually screenshotted it to you, and this is what you had said to me.
Yeah, you did.
And this is what you had said to me. You had said to me after that clip I played. You said a lot of men want to, if you notice, a lot of men have gone to trade schools to learn how to build plumbing, electrical, and other trades. You have a lot of tech now. And the tech industry is kind of overpowering. I'm paraphrasing right now. It's paraphrasing the trade industry.
Yep.
And making trades seem like meaningless jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you understand that a lot of women right now are getting degrees, which is a good thing, but there's also a tide that's changed. You said, and basically you made the point that trades are being undervalued as far as a means of providing. And I think you perform certain trades yourself, right? Do you perform a trade yourself, or I'm not sure. I don't know if you're the plumbing. What do you do? I forgot what you do for a living. I may have lost you.
So I work for a water company. You might have seen the trucks in the city. I work for Nelco Water. I do plumbing. That's what before I got with Nelco, I was doing I'm a plumber. That's what I did. I was doing plumbing and heating. Unfortunately, I was having trouble with some of the jobs in Rockland, because they weren't helping me get my license. But, I guess a guy, he said, listen, come work for us in the city, and I was doing like mechanical work, hooking up their systems and things like that. That's a whole nother story. It ain't what they said it was, but still I'm with the company Nelco Water as of now. And, basically I do like the mechanical work for them. Like, so I, same thing, piping in things. The only thing I don't do is soldering and stuff like that.
Okay.
But again, it's back to the trades, certain things aren't being explained about the trades. A lot of these companies aren't helping the men get the license. That's another thing that's not talked about. In Rockland County, it used to be 5 years to get your plumbing license. Now it takes 10 years to get your plumbing license. You have to work under a master plumber. 10 years. Yes, it is. And if anybody wants to challenge me on that, you can challenge me, because I did trust me, everything.
Oh
and
God.
And you need a plumber to sign off on that, stating that, all right, he's ready to take the test and he's ready to become the next plumber.
Jesus.
You have to become an apprentice. You see what I'm saying? They don't tell you that. And this is why they took the stuff out of the schools. They, to be certified.
Right.
To certified electrician, certified plumber. I think a lot of the guys are switching over to HVAC now, is because I think it's a little bit more easy to get your HVAC license now. I believe. I'm not too sure, but I think it is. And that's the move I'm looking. I may end up jumping into, but it's like I said, I didn't like being in attics and hooking up air handlers and things like that.
Right.
You know, I didn't like doing that. You understand? Because it was just too hot. You know, the company before I got with this one, they tried to switch me over to an HVAC guy. Wasn't really interested in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I will say is, like, I've learned to trade a hands-on skill that to where I'm able to diagnose all the problems where I live at, you know what I mean? Or where a family member has an issue, I can fix it. You know, only thing I don't really know much now is HVAC. I know bits and pieces of it.
Right.
You know, so I'm in the trade field. You understand what I mean? But it's just like I'm kind of like, you know, I do a little side jobs when it comes to the plumbing and things. Like I have to be careful, is because if I get caught, I can get in trouble. And I try not to do work in the city. Is because if I get caught, the head guys out there would be like, "Oh, well, you're operating in the city. You're taking money out of our mouths." You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
These are things that are not, like I said, this trade stuff is not talked about a lot, and it's not talked in proper context, in my opinion. Everybody just says, "Oh, go to school, be a plumber. Go to school, be an electrician. Go to school, and be an HVAC guy." They don't tell you that you got to get with a company that's going to train you and help you get your license. They don't tell you that part. If you really want to make money, you have to do it that way. Sure, you could work under the table like most of us do, but the real money is when you can get the license and you can get the bigger jobs.
And the job,
you know what I mean? Right, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
You know, now that you say that, you know, and maybe it could be just be my algorithm or maybe my studies or lack of, but I don't really see a lot of platforms that give voice to trades and people who are in the trades and plumbers and stuff like that. Like I don't get to see it, you know, in my landscape. So I don't know the ins and outs, the machinations, the nooks and crannies of the trade life. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I don't see it,
because it's hard, it's hard work.
Yeah, it's hard work, and if I don't see it, and I'm talking about even socially, like in social conversations online, if I'm not seeing it being illustrated to me, like what you got to go through, the hula hoops you got to jump through, if I don't see it illustrated to me, how are the young kids who are in high school going to know this and be like, oh, I could do that if I just start off doing this out of high school, doing that. If they're not getting that tutelage from young, then how do they get into it later? You know, until they find out after 10, 15 years, oh no, retail life's not for me. Let me try something else. But now you're behind the 8 ball financially, and you may have a kid.
Like I said, I wish I would have got into it years ago, bro. Like I said, I didn't get into this plumbing stuff until a little bit late 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just sad. It's because, well, I didn't have nobody on me to say, yo, bring Jamal here. This is, you know what I'm saying? And let's show him the ropes and things like that. That's the thing. I didn't have no male mentors to show me this.
But at the same time, you're still being told, court me, take care of me, look out for me. You know, like you still
not given the properly tools to do to navigate and to do that.
So you're still experiencing life in all its other forms of what's going on, whether it's dating, parenting, etc. But there's one sector of life which is probably the most important part of American life, which is economics and
economically
capitalism,
support, being able to provide. Yep.
And no one is telling you what to do in that. I feel like we get more therapy for our emotional feelings than we do our economical status. Like,
yo, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, this shit is wicked, bro.
Like
telling you,
don't get twisted. I need mental health and emotional behavioral support. Of course I do. We all do. And therapy is real and it's important. But
I love therapy.
But I also needed someone at 18 years old to tell me, hey, we need to meet weekly about economics.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the big thing that was missing. Not just get a job and go to school, get a job. Like, and the plan was from there, just save. Not knowing that there's a whole nother system out there of investing, trading, all types of shit. I'm just sitting up here saying, yo,
that's hieroglyphics to me.
Like, yeah, it's hieroglyphic. That's what I said. Even till today, Mike. Even like I said, I have money in the stock market, but it ain't fucking thousands and billions like how some of these guys I be seeing and whatnot. It's just like, damn, you know what I mean? It's just it's almost like, yo, it's just like, damn, bro.
Yeah,
I didn't have nobody in my ear teaching me. That's why I followed Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Right.
What'd you say?
And to your point, to bring it back full circle, you know, I would imagine it could be frustrating if you're trying to date people who don't understand the lack of tutelage you didn't get, and then being told, "Well, make do with it. Make do with it. Figure it out."
Yo, son.
And you know, to even bring back the idea of to bring it back home full circle, but either feminism or the idea of the boomer generation you brought up earlier. I understand if a bachelor says today, "Ma'am, let's not compare our situation today in 2025 to what your grandfather was able to do for your grandmother 80 years ago," because Dwight Eisenhower had a tax. Dwight Eisenhower had a tax code for the rich that allowed him to make money in Detroit, you know, in a steel mill or in a car factory of a high school diploma, if that.
High school diploma.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The game has changed today, and those higher ups have got even more greedy and more fierce.
Oh, yeah. Hell, exactly. They hollowed out the middle class. The middle class is hollowed out. We are like, they hollowed it out. Look at it, like I said before. Most people, I said, when you got 80%, that's a lot of people, Mike, that don't make over 100. Yeah, I'm telling you, look at the statistics, bro. And this is people in general, not even get to the the black people. Most black men don't make over 100 or something thousand a year. You do know that, right? I think it's very low. It's a low percentage. Like I said, I be telling women, I said, your expectations are kind of very, you know what I mean? Skewed. It's like you're really setting yourself up.
Yeah. And that's not to take away. That's not to take away from the idea that there are men out there who have a lack of ambition.
And by the way, of course, definitely not. No way.
A lack of ambition.
Shit, we're progressive, but we're progressive. You know what I'm saying? Me and you right now.
Yeah, me and you are progressive. Me and you have ideas of how we want to lead our families. But there are some men out there who have a lack of ambition, or they have delusions of grandeur. I want to be a hustler. I want to be the next Trump. I want to just get it out the mud. Well, how? I don't know. I just want to get it. I just want to hustle. With no plan. There are dudes out there. No doubt, they're like that. But I'll also caution ladies. Ladies, I'm sorry, but don't talk to them. Leave them be.
Pretty much, yes.
Leave them be. Leave them be.
You know what I'm saying?
Leave them be. You know what I mean? So I always, because I believe in self-advocacy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in trying to lead a horse to water if they're not interested in drinking. You know what I'm saying? So I have seen women. I have seen women out there who've broken their back trying to build a man up to no avail. You know what I'm saying? To no success. Whereas like that man's showing you that I have no interest in doing what you want from me. I want to do for myself, even if it means doing nothing.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So and I'm sure as a father, you're preaching that to your daughter, like be careful who you attach yourself to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of losers out there. But no, to your point, you know, when you talk about the frustrations of courting women and the skewed idea of how to court through capitalism and expectations as far as finance and fiscal spending, it all goes back to the idea of yesterday's price is not today's price.
Not today's price, exactly. Yep.
You know, so and that even bleeds into relationships. It even bleeds into dating. It even bleeds into marriage. So as long as both parties are realistic about the peaks, the trials and tribulations that face them ahead, maybe they have more success. But I might have lost you, brother. But internet probably internet. I know you have internet issues, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. Ask from also brother Tyler Overson. But I understand where he's coming from. I understand where he's coming from. And I respect it. I respect it. I also feel like as men, we got to also take accountability. Hopefully he gets back online soon, and we can continue because I know he wants to talk about the Diddy thing, the verdict.
Can you hear
there
me?
You go. Yeah, I got you. You back.
Yeah, my headphones died, man. So
it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, I hear you great. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect.
All right. Well, before we go,
yeah,
I wanted to get. Oh, there's two more things I want to talk to you about. I want to give you quick reactions to the Diddy verdict, and more so the verdict on a macro level. What this means as a man, a fan, and a father of a daughter, or a father in general. And then I want to do a call back to a situation that happened way back when, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
First, let's go over the Diddy thing real quick.
Okay.
So yesterday he's found guilty on 2 out of 5 charges.
2 out of 5 charges. Yes.
He wasn't found guilty on a RICO charge.
No.
But he was. Well, here it is. He was found guilty on two accounts of transportation of prostitution.
Yes.
But the harsher charges, he was found not guilty. One was a RICO. Correct. One was a RICO. And matter of fact, I think I took a picture of it too. Yes, the other day.
I know. My son posted it too.
Shout out to my son. He's a very forward-thinking brother. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Because I definitely took a picture of it. And I sent it to my wife. I remember. But basically, he was found guilty on 2 out of 5 charges. What do you think? What's your first thoughts about the whole idea of him being charged for a RICO of prostitution, what do you think of the? Oh, here it is. Here I got it right here.
Yep.
He was found not guilty on count 1 racketeering conspiracy, not guilty count 2 on sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. He was found guilty count 3 of transportation to engage in prostitution, found not guilty on count 4 of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and guilty count 5 of transportation to engage in prostitution. So two counts guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution, and not guilty on the other 3, which is sex trafficking and racketeering. What do you think about when you hear this?
Okay, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying Diddy's a good guy in general. I'm not going to sit up there and play like I'm on his side 100% and sit up here and say, you're a good guy. You think Diddy's good. Why are you on his side? I'm not going to do that. You understand what I'm saying? I know what Diddy's guilty of. You know what I mean? Racketeering, RICO, and enforced sex trafficking. He's not guilty of that. Let's just be clear. They overcharged him. That's one thing. People have to understand the law. You know what I'm saying? This is another thing we don't know. And a lot of people are so butthurt about. I tell people, take your feelings out of it, because you know why? That court system didn't give a shit about no Cassie. They didn't care. You think the prosecution and all of them cared about them? You know what the prosecution's first, this is going to come out. Their first idea was to charge them all in the RICO. That was going to be their first play. But they said, you know what? We're going to spank Diddy because that's who we want. This was to bring Diddy down to his knees, because you know why? When you mess with the powers that be, this is what happens. They said, oh, you think you can do this to us, boy? Come here. We're going to have to sit you down and teach you a lesson, just like the rest of these Negroes. That's exactly what happened. And now going to the case. Him beating and doing this to Cassie, piece of shit. Diddy's an asshole. We all knew that. Scumbag. Yeah, come on, man. Like, I don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's
and some of this is not. Some of this is not news.
Right.
Some of this is about him.
Right. This is we know that. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to this whole RICO, racketeering, and enforced labor sex, I said no. I think now that you're overcharging him. how I would like it, how this is me, because I'm a more community person, and it is more, I felt like for the community, I felt like, yo, we should have took some of the brothers should have came out, the head guys, yo, took him somewhere in court, like we handled it in our own court, had him fight some of the dudes and have him beat the shit out of him. That's what should happen. That's how I would handle it. You up here beating on women that look, no, we go take you to the side, you will get your ass beat for doing that. Then on top of that, you go spend some time away.
Right.
That's what should happen. How the courts are handling it, they want to drag his sex life into it. I don't care about, like, come on, man, where's the actual crimes at?
Right.
And from the sex tapes, there was it looked like all consensual sex. And people were arguing and sitting up here saying, oh, that's not true. You haven't seen the sex tape, so how would you know? And none of them got on there and said they were forced to do anything. It was transactional. Do you understand that? That's the problem with people. If something is transactional, that's where you're going to lose at, because you were paid for a service.
Right. Right.
Granted, in Vegas, it's legal. Certain states, it's not. They got them on the man law. Do you know what the man law is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's the Jack Johnson law.
Yeah.
And this is why I be asking women and men. I be asking y'all can have y'all feelings all y'all want, but let's just put it in these terms. Do you know what the man law is? The man law is if you transport people over state lines, you can be, and it's only applied to black people, because it was done to Jack Johnson when he had dating the women, white women across overseas and having them over. That's how they were charging, and that's how they were to strip the belts from him.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
This is what people don't understand.
Right.
Like, come on. I say you got to really do your research when it comes to this. They overcharged him.
Right.
Granted, I know what he's guilty of. This was nothing but a civil suit and a domestic violence case, which we know he's 100% guilty of.
Right.
But to put him away for 50 to 60 years, I'm not riding with that. I said no. Now you guys are being really, and you know what's so sick, man? Some women really wanted that too, and I'm just like, yo, I get it, but it's just like, yo, that's not how it's supposed to be done, yo. I think that is kind of easy and rough at the same time. I'm saying, like, no, but you can't do it that way, because then you give the system more doors to open up to get any one of us.
I agree.
That's what you do. They're paying attention. People, listen, they're looking at that. Yo, this shit was all about money. All them lawyers and shit, they didn't care about none of them.
Yeah. Yes. To your point, it got more salacious than it did
criminal.
Come
on, bro.
It got more salacious than it did criminal. I felt like I was watching a novella or TMZ more than I was a criminal case.
Right.
I think when it came to the prosecution, to your point, they overcharged. They were very ambitious for a software to use for them. They were pretty ambitious about their charges. And what I always wondered was, when I heard the word RICO, me being a young kid growing up listening to crime stories and whether it was mafia based or otherwise, when I heard RICO and racketeering, it usually meant there was a continuing conspiracy and syndicate that was playing out with its tentacles in multiple crimes.
Yes.
And to prove coercion and force, you needed at least not just not just testimony on the stand, but you need corroborating evidence like a wiretap or something that's like unbiased, something that's like an unbiased evidence.
You needed more evidence. You needed way more evidence. Like you needed trails. You needed a lot of trails.
Yeah.
That's what you needed. There's no trails.
There's no trail. So when I would always entertain on face value that, people were abused, men and women, that Cassie was a victim, that I appreciated Cassie going on stand and giving her testimony. That's cool and that's good. And I'm thinking of a friend of mine who reiterated to me how she was disappointed because she felt like, Cassie is a victim. Oh, because I had sent her something that DJ Vlad had said. I guess Vlad had posted. Vlad was very harsh on Cassie, or not even harsh. He was very.
I saw it.
Not even harsh. He had on Front Street made sure to reiterate her complicity to some of the actual escapades, and he had held her feet.
Right.
He had held her feet to the fire with her culpability in some of the actual stuff happenings. And my homegirl, she was like, "We understand she's a victim that was coerced and pressured."
Right.
Listen, whether that
two things
that
could be true.
Two things can be true.
Right.
Two things can be true. She could have
true.
felt pressured. She could have felt pressure. She would have been coerced and abused, and I could believe those things. But
right, I could too.
I also say that one, ladies, whether it's my daughters, nieces, whoever, cousins, whoever, if something happens to you that you felt you were wrong, and there's actual video evidence, like a hotel footage, I would implore you to ASAP gather the means to either extract that evidence or to bring a call to bring awareness that evidence exists.
Right.
I don't subscribe to the idea of I have to be a either willing participant continuously or be a victim forever and never look for a way out. Especially when there's statute of limitations to crimes.
100%.
I feel like a lot of our women need to know that there's statute of limitations to crimes. And if you feel uneasy about someone who wronged you, there's a clock ticking on when you can bring awareness to your crime that was done to you. You know, it's hard to after the fact say this person wronged me when the statute of limitations give them a way out. In other words, what I'm saying is we need to all respect the law and how the law can sometimes, depend on the crime, run out. You know?
Got you.
And
right,
100%. It's hard to litigate and to charge someone after the fact if you didn't gather up certain things in the when the time was of the essence to help support your case. You know, like when the feds went after John Gotti, they said, "Yeah, we're gonna wiretap your place of business. We're gonna get corroborated evidence against you. We're not gonna just lean on people who don't like you to testify against you and say
exactly
he wronged me, he stole from me, and that's the end of it. No, we need to also back it up with evidence. And I feel like sometimes I feel like with the feds, sometimes I mean there always will be salacious stuff in any case, but I also feel like sometimes when it comes to certain cases, the feds are so thorough at what they do, they take the feelings out of it. They just say, we got him or her hook, line, and sinker. Let's just gather evidence. Let's just gather evidence and make sure we overly have evidence for this case. This felt like not as much evidence as I would like versus a lot more salacious feelings, a lot more testimony, you know, a lot more gossip, you know, than evidence. And that bothered me, you know what I mean? Of course, he's a piece of shit. Of course, off the strength of hitting women, you need to be put down. But I would love to have that domestic violence case happen under the current guidelines of when it happened, so we can just get him hooked right there. Stop it right there.
Right then and there. Stop it right there. Exactly. All this other shit, man, was just like, come on, man. Like, now you're doing too much.
And also you're either doing too much or you're trying to make up for lost time when you didn't enact when you didn't act.
Right,
you know
exactly. And again, it's like I said before, he pissed off some high level people and people at the table. I call them the high table because that's what they are. Your people, like I said, you pissed off your people at the high table, and they thought, they said, we about to show you, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm dying to see who they go after next, because it's like I said, this is not over. He was just one, but I truly think they're trying to tear the rest of them down.
And for the record,
whether they got a pin shit on them or they not.
Right. And for the record, I have no sympathy towards him because you make yourself a flawed person. If you make yourself a flawed person, then you allow the wolves to come after you. You know what I'm saying? If you're a flawed individual, then surely the government is going to come after you when they feel like they can be ambitious now and come after you, or when you feel so.
Exactly.
You made yourself who you made your bed. Now you got to lie in it. You know what I'm saying? So for him, he only has himself to blame. But I do feel like to the government, to the prosecutors, you poorly did this.
100%. They are the worst. Oh, they were the worst. I said before. I said, yo, blame your federal government too. Blame them. Point the finger at their asses too, because they fucked this up as well. Like, come on, man. What are we talking about? That's why I keep telling people. I said, take your feelings out. And you know who you really should direct the energy to? You should direct your energy to the goddamn law. Because again, these are them fucking up and dropping the damn ball again. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you, yo, Mike, man, you just don't know, boy.
I agree, bro.
Shit.
I agree. So it's
sad, man.
We live in a world where people just want simple heroes and villains, and realize there's villains everywhere, including in the prosecution case. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Including the prosecutors, and not for nothing, Cassie, you are a victim in some ways, but think about the person who you assisted in being dehumanized during an escapade. You know what I'm saying? Think about how they look at you. Think about how they look at you.
Right. And I'm hearing one of the male escorts are suing both of them.
Right.
You didn't hear that?
I didn't hear that.
Come on, what are we talking? It just came out yesterday. He said he gonna sue both of them. And
my thing is, if an escort, male or female, feels like they got wronged by both of y'all, they may look at you and say, "Well, Cassie, you got 30 mil for this. What did I get?" You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm telling you.
So there's no clear heroes here. There's
none.
No clear.
There's none.
There's no clear heroes.
But again, this was the power structure doing its job to demonize, like I said, to knock him off his mantle, to knock him down. It's just like, yo, we got to get rid of him because he's doing something to where he's disrupting our system now, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mike, a lot of things are being exposed, bro, and a lot of things are not. Like I said, we're going forward now. We're kind of starting to see the ugly rear head of, even when it comes to the entertainment business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very, very interesting what's happening, yo. Very interesting.
Right. And not just entertainment, real quick on politics, like people are opportunists. So like a few weeks ago, Governor Cuomo, or former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he lost an election, a Democratic mayoral election, to Zohran Mamdani because he got ousted a few years ago, Governor Cuomo, from the governor's office because he had scandals, sexual harassment scandals. And I guess if you were to take a stab at it or a guess at it, at that time during the pandemic, he looked quote unquote presidential, and I guess he felt like in the next coming years he could have maybe vied for candidacy for the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
So some people believe that him trying to come back into politics as a mayoral candidate was his way of trying to get back into the public eye to maybe be a presidential candidate down the line.
Yep.
So now you're seeing a lot of people upset at him upset at Zohran Mamdani, the man who defeated him, because it took down Cuomo's status per se. And I feel like a lot of people, whether it's potential victims of a Diddy situation, whether it's Governor Cuomo, people are more opportunist than they are realist about themselves and their own actions. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, and I would tell Cuomo, bro, you were a flawed governor, a flawed candidate.
Yes.
And you only have yourself to blame.
Right.
Until why a gentleman like Zohran Mamdani won. You know what I'm saying? It's not about it, because this should be about ideas and substance versus legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want just because you listen. I still call the Tappan Zee Bridge. I don't call it the Cuomo Bridge. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. I still call it the tap. I just be like, the Tappan Zee.
And it's like I don't subscribe to legacy just because of your name. Like you have to act. If you're a man or woman of public office, you need to continuously show evidence that you are about the people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if you're not, then you can't just expect to have my vote off of GP, general principle. So, I've been enjoying this little saga of a lot of super left wing people, not even super left wing people, a lot of like center left, right wing people cry and whine about Zoran winning. And mind you, Zoran Mamdani is not a perfect candidate. There's things about him. I'm like, oh yeah, you should fix that. I don't agree about that. I don't know about that, bro. But I voted for him because I was like, out of all the candidates, for me, he had the best ideas. So it was just that simple. Yeah. And we live in a society where we're told, hey man, Trump won, deal with it. Your peers voted for him. So deal with it and learn and ask them why they voted for him. When it comes to Zoran, they're like, no, don't vote, don't. We got to fix this. We got to. So it's like this is
dead ass, yo. I'm telling you, son. Yo, I'm seeing it all over. That shit spread like wildfire. I'm like, yo, damn, the man ain't been in but for a few days. And y'all just like, yo.
Yeah. Oligarchy.
Crazy.
Because oligarchy rules, man. Whether
exactly what it is.
Whether you're left wing or right wing, we're all oligarchy.
Yep. That's it. I keep telling people that, man.
But last topic. So I have a friend of mine, and I won't say any names. Mm-hmm. But he, for the last 20 plus years, he's had a Jones or he's had a gripe about a situation that happened. Well, two friends of mine.
Okay.
And with one of them, I said the word loosely. But they have been, they've had gripes about a situation that happened way back when, about 20 years ago. And let me give some context to people who are not from Spring Valley.
Gotcha.
Me and you are from the same area. You're from Gessner. I'm from Union, on the same street, Union Road. Shout out to everybody from Gessner. Rest in peace to Shannon. You got a Gessner is a tenement building, and then you got Union Gardens, another tenement building. Next door neighbors. And within Gessner, you have a whole host of characters, people, communities, people living day to day, doing their thing, living their lives. I grew up with a lot of friends from Gessner, Francesca, Shannon, rest in peace, Lamar, the whole Coleman family, Fabulita, so many different people. So many different people I grew up with on the Gessner side. Edison used to live in Gessner. Shout out to Eddie.
Edison. Yeah, Edison.
So shout out to people, So I'm well versed, and I used to go over there and play ball on the hoop I had back in the day. And towards the back. So I had a lot of fun going to Gessner, growing up, and I had that cultural context and that proximity of having connections with that building.
Gotcha.
Now, with that being said, I have friends who grew up in other parts of the valley, and for dumb reasons, there may have been beefing, drama, whatever. A lot of it that I was unaware of because I like to govern myself and live my own life and not worry about frivolous beefs. With that being said, I call upon an issue, and the reason why I reference these two gentlemen, I'm thinking about who have issues with a situation I was in. They like to reference a situation that happened 20 years ago, a brawl. You were there for it. The reason why I'm bringing it up because you were there for it. A brawl. You was in it. A brawl that happened, and 20 years ago at the Palisades Mall. I want to say across against all odds. That's how back we're going. There was a brawl that happened between two factions. You happened to be at the mall that night with your peoples, your homies from Gessner. I want to say one or two that had an issue with one of my guys. And full disclosure, one of my guys is a hothead. Always has been. I hope to God. I hope to God that he finds the resolve to understand that, he did not help. You know what I'm saying? In that situation. And there's an idea of loyalty in this conversation of what do you do if your homie who's a hot wire run into somebody else who's hot blooded or has the hots for him, and they have it out. What are you supposed to be doing in that situation? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's been a narrative between one or two of those guys from my side of the street who not literally side of the street, because literally side of the street is y'all. Y'all are the people you were rolling with are literally from my side of the street. Literally,
right.
Proximity, geography. But colloquially, my side of the street where my homies that I was rolling with that night, and one of them had beef with people from your side of the street, from our side of the street geographically. What do you do in a situation? Well, all hell broke loose. A brawl came about, and I took, as a 20-year-old, as a 19-year-old, I took the idea, because I saw you there that night. I'm like, oh shoot, Jamal's there, and I know in my heart, Jamal is a peaceful cat. So
yeah, I'm not. I wasn't, but you know, I wasn't trying to get into that.
Yeah,
but it was just like, oh man.
But you don't look for drama.
Right, I don't look for it. And apparently, you know, I was here to pick up a paycheck, bro.
Right, exactly. Bad timing of all things. So on top of that, me and you are both of the same ilk on the opposite sides of the of crews. Drama pops off, and now we're here left to like break things up, you know, and make sure things are, everybody goes home safe. A brawl breaks out, there's drama, there's fisticuffs being thrown. One or two guys from my side of the street, even 20 years later, will try to make the case that I didn't stand tall for them because I wasn't out with them wilding, throwing fists everywhere as well, as opposed to I was trying to break things up or not feed into the melee. And I feel disappointed to this day that they equate advocacy with just random violence. You know what I'm saying? Or and I feel weird that they never understood my position of like, yo, just because you got to be with somebody doesn't mean I gotta ride with you regardless, especially if I gotta sleep on that street.
Correct.
You know right. I gotta walk to the gas station of the corner store on that block. You get to be miles away and not see them day to day. But if I gotta see folks day to day, you know what I mean, then there's a difference in engagement. You know what I'm saying? Daily engagement with people. And it's easy to say, hey man, I want you to fight with me the whole way through instead of trying to break things up and being peaceful. But it's a privilege and not recognizing that, well, I don't care if you gotta live there. I don't care if you gotta be on that block daily. I don't care if you live on that street. I don't care if your mom buys groceries.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not
cool. So if you can, what do you think about that? What do you think about the idea of this quote unquote blind loyalty? That's this idea of blind loyalty, this idea of no matter what I did to jumpstart the situation or contribute to the situation, you got to ride with me no matter what. What do you think about that?
I think looking back on it, doesn't make any sense. You know, like I said, as I said, you wish you would have known what you know now back then, but you did the right thing in that situation. You understand what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I felt like, you know, you remember you had your hotheads and you had your guys that were, you know, because a lot of them weren't really about that neither. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like I said, I knew who threw fists and I know who didn't that day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like I said, it started there, but it escalated outside to to where the bus stop was. Right when we were about to get on the bus. But, you know, fortunately, one of my guys got hit. I don't want to disclose his name. They knocked him out. We all had to run over there because at the end of the day, they came out and we were on the crew. If I don't know his name, but they followed us outside. You know what I'm saying? We walked away. You know what I mean? Wow. It was about it was getting off, but then after that, we broke up, went outside. But then these guys came outside and we were at the bus station. So it was only 3 of us. We were outnumbered. They were just talking shit in our face and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and again, this was just like, I'm not going to sit up there and run and let my guys get beat up and whatnot. Listen, we all will get jumped in. That's the case. But they saw what's his name coming out and they went off and popped off on him. So my thing was, it's just like, well, out of all people, you hit him. You know what I'm saying? You had us dead to rights. It didn't make any sense.
Right.
But I knew who, you know what I'm saying, was throwing punches. And it so happened that I had to pick the biggest guy out of the whole crew to fight, which was crazy. You know what I mean? I said, I'll never forget it because I had my football jersey on. Everybody knew, you know what I mean? And word got around. I played in that game too. I played like shit. You know what I'm saying? It's because, you know, at the wrong situation at the wrong time. Even the coach said it. Coach said, "Oh, I heard you were out getting your ass kicked the other night." I was just like, "Yo," I said, "What?" I said, I'm like, "Yo," and that's Harris. I don't know if you remember Harris, but yeah, Harris was just like hard nosed. You know what I'm saying? And we had Vitola even on top of that, and it was just like it sent a bad message. But I'm just like, "Yo, not for nothing. I wasn't gonna sit there and." You know what I mean? Get wailed on. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? But that whole loyalty and things like that, man, to sum it all up, you know, again, there should be some understanding there. You know what I mean? And if you don't get it, you know, like I said, that situation could have gone way worse. You understand what I mean? Way worse than what it did.
I mean, not to cut you off, but I mean, not for nothing, not to put air people's business out there, but I feel like maybe one or two persons out that crew later on had to go to prison for some other stuff, right? Or
yes, that's
I think a body maybe
one person, one
body
person
of a cabbie or something like that, or
it's part of a crime.
Yeah. So
he's out now,
you know, he's out now, right? But so you know, one, I would caution anybody, whether it's people from my crew or elsewhere, you know, just because one of our peoples is hot-blooded and has an issue with so-and-so doesn't mean our only answer is to follow his lead and fisticuffs. That's one. Two, I remember one time 50 Cent said this. For the record, 50's not the best person to take pointers from.
No.
But he said something one time. Yeah. But he said something one time that he was referencing a beef. I don't know if it was Cam and Dipset, someone he had issues with, and they were in close proximity. And he told his people, "Hold up, don't go just rushing them over there. We don't know what they got on them, and we don't know what they're capable of."
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. And it's like there's no shame in reassessing your emotions before you wild out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, and you know, to go back to the ancestors conversation, our ancestors looking down on us. You know, not for nothing. I hate to pull this card out, but you know, you have Malcolm X behind you on the wall. You know, whether it's Malcolm X, whether it's Dr. King, especially Dr. King. You know, I'm sure he would look at us funny style for going for violence first versus sitting down and talking things out. You know what I'm saying?
Rational, being more rational about it.
Yeah. I'm sure they all look at us like, y'all are wilding. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? We all disagreed on things, but we didn't wail on each other. You know, we knew we had a common enemy and it wasn't each other. You know what I'm saying?
Well, right. And that was the thing. But I think we were the peak years of the bullshit that was to come to the future. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're the sandwich generation. I mean, you have to take this in account. We are the peak years of that. You know what I mean? But we're also coming off of the gang culture. You have to understand that too, because remember that gang culture was heavy. Everybody thought they were a blood, Crip, all that, or this. Come on, think about it. When we were in school, it was always talked about the blood, the Crip. Oh, this one was that red and whatnot. Like I said before, I used to wear a lot of red, and everybody thought, oh, this nigga is a blood, blah, blah, blah. Man, right. I even top one time and some shit almost happened to me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I mean, luckily they knew who my cousins were, you know what I'm saying? But then that backfired on them. But for keep this short, I'm just telling you, like we come from an era to where, you know what I'm saying? It was like we were in that peak, you know what I mean? Of that whole, and not the conscious mindset wasn't even thought of, you know what I'm saying? We had it in us. Like I said, I felt like me, you, a few other people, we had it in us. You understand? But I just felt like, you know, again, this is not, you know, some people not talking to us and grabbing us and pulling us to the side because, you know, a lot of the boomers and the Gen Xers were so focused on just work. You understand what I mean? And that's when community started to like really shatter. Like I said, that's we were at those stages, you know.
And not to your point, not just having the tutelage at those early years to guide us, we also were a little pacified through capitalism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were a little privileged through capitalism, where maybe our elders, the Malcolms, the Martins, the Medgar Evers, they weren't privileged and pacified through capitalism. They were more reacting to the chaos, which forced them to be more early on conscientious about where they were going. You know, think about people like Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, Fred Hampton. These are men that are young, late teens, early 20s, having to grapple with their knowledge of self early because the state of times made them that aware, as opposed to us, we're the sandwich generation, like you said. So, you know, we're not given the same tutelage, and we're also a little pacified and privileged. So all that makes a cocktail of not knowing how to grapple with certain situations until years later, where we're learning how to fully grapple with our emotions and our temperaments. So yeah, so I get frustrated with, to this day, I hear this little argument come out of some people about that night, and I'm like, man, you still don't get it, huh? You still don't get, you know, a position of someone could take where, one, I got to be careful of how I react, because people from my side of the street, literally, not figuratively, but physically and geographically, I got to deal with them on a day-to-day basis. And on top of that, it's okay to say, yo, my man, you jump-started all this. Or, yo, my man, you wilding out here. Or, yo, my man, you're part of the problem, not the solution. You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times when it comes, and you know what's crazy? A lot of times, years later, people can't even tell you where beef started.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they can't.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a historian, so therefore I can tell you. Like, there's a lot of, like I said before, if you wanted to ask, everybody used to come to me and ask me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could pretty much give you an idea on how and when and why, you know what I'm saying? How it started. I know how a lot of this started, is because, like I said before, looking back on it, yo, you have to understand the demographic on where we were at and what we've been seeing. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I grew up around a bunch of, you know, gang, like these niggas were really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Box, Los, and all those guys. You probably knew all of them.
Yeah.
You heard of them. Carlos, Box.
Yeah.
So you know about those guys, man. You know what I'm saying? And like, and some of them were like Box, he's a stand-up dude. Like, you know what I mean? I think if he had like somebody pointing him in the right, he would make a great businessman. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, the circumstances put him in these situations to where it's just like, you know, he's in survival mode. You know, a lot of them, even with Chuck, you know what I mean? God rest his soul. I don't know if you ever heard about that situation.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, man, a lot of these are stand-up guys. But again, they weren't given the proper tools on how to navigate and the proper tools on what to do in certain situations. We were all, it's just like, you know, when you, Gessner is a project. It really is. It's not an apartment. It's a project. You know what I'm saying? And it was subsidized housing. That's what it really was. You go up top, Fred Heck, it was the same thing. You know what I mean? But again, you're not giving these people the right type of resources and ammunition to get these people up out of there. You're not supposed to be living on the on those substances for 10 to 12, 20 something odd years. And I'm not knocking, but I'm just telling you what's going on and what the issue is. And especially that's why a lot of us grow up in these environments to where, you know, we get lost in the pickle, and some of us come out, you know what I mean, strong and what's his name, but it's a little bit, it's not, you know, it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? But that, you know, that just sums it up right there, man. That's the issue. And like I said before, most beefs, it's all over macho bullshit.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Bullshit.
It was also over our social and economic reasons, you know what I mean? Whether it came to drugs, whether it came to, you know what I mean, who had this and who didn't, you know, and not understanding what the system is doing. That's what it was. Lack of information.
And to your point, whether we talked about inner conflict today, romantic encounters, or knowledge of self, I think the constant theme is not understanding socioeconomic capitalism effects on us will have us fail in all those departments. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. Exactly.
And not understanding how America feeds off the capitalism can affect us in all those departments. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're trying to find a lover, know finance first. If you're trying to connect with your boys and try to build them up, know how finance and fiscality can help with that. And if you're trying to just find knowledge of self, learn how, through knowledge of self, people
basically love yourself too,
and how to love yourself.
Yeah, learn how to love yourself too.
Knowing how to know and love yourself can also bleed through finance, because to treat yourself better is to build yourself up through finance, and knowing and like you said, like you brought up the whole plumbing situation, knowing how where to go to get your license to be a plumber, who can help you, who can advocate for you. That's all about taking advocacy for yourself. And self advocacy means loving yourself. If you don't love yourself,
Correct, yes.
you won't advocate for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that, to your point, a lot of this comes back to capitalism.
Yep.
But yo, on that note, it's been like 2 hours, so I gotta wrap this up.
Yes, man. Yeah.
I appreciate it, bro. We'll do a part 2 another time. All I ask for all I ask you to do is leave your tabs open so the audio can upload properly.
Gotcha.
On that note, bro, I appreciate it. Any last words?
I just want to say, to people out there that are struggling mentally, sometimes take the time out to, assess your situation and assess yourself, and, go to a space to where you can rejuvenate, and to you, my good brother, it's good talking to you, and thank
appreciate
you.
It, bro.
I look to do this again. You are a good guy. You know what I mean? You've always been solid.
Appreciate
and,
it, bro.
Thank you for inviting on your platform, man. I love doing this, and I definitely, want to get on. And me and my cousin, we gonna invite you on too when we get our.
Okay, good. I can't wait, bro. I can't wait. I appreciate it. Shout out to you. First of all, congratulations. I know your daughter just graduated high school.
Yeah, she graduated high school. Yeah.
So shout out to her. Congratulations. And I'm looking for the best for you in the future. You definitely illuminated me as far as the whole struggle with the trades, and how it's not talked about enough. So that'll be an awareness that I have moving forward, with my young men and women who are looking to get in the trades.
Correct. Yep.
But in the meantime, bro, like I said, till next time. Like I said, keep the audio up, the tabs up, so the upload, and then I'll holler at you, bro.
Got you. So just hit leave. I can hit leave on.
Yeah, you can hit leave, bro. You can hit leave.
Okay, and just keep the tabs and stuff open.
Yeah, bro.
Gotcha.
Good luck.
All right,
man. We'll talk.
Peace, brother.
All right. Peace.